Welcome back, beautiful people of the podcasting world. Thank you to all the new subscribers and to everybody who watched our last video about us just kind of ranty, also kind of not ranty. It was definitely more coherent than whatever Punk was spitting out at the press conference.
Yeah. Yeah, we were not expecting so many people to even click on the video, let alone like
Yeah,
subscribe to the channel. So it means a
yeah.
lot.
The biggest topic coming out of this past Sunday was Phil Brooks. I'm not even calling him by his stage name anymore because that was Phil Brooks at that press conference.
They are one and the same, I would
Exactly.
say.
But I mean, one's a character, one's an actual human being with actual grudges. And that's who
Yeah.
came out that day. And that after that match was Phil Brooks just shitting on everybody, which other people have their opinion about. And that's his fans, that's his loyal fan base. And maybe even not loyal fan base, that he had a right to say what he had to say. And more stuff came out, and as more stuff came out, honestly, throughout the day and Wednesday came and went, we just kind of held our breath on what was going to happen. And then slowly it came out that yes, the suspensions are coming, but but as pretty much a follow-up to, our last video, we didn't do an immediate follow-up because we were a little bit surprised, or I guess a little underwhelmed of what happened because they didn't flat out say Phil Brooks has been suspended.
This is clearly a much more legally complicated situation than
Yes,
they are able to get into.
absolutely. Glad you touched base upon that. It's a good segue because
Yeah.
everyone has an opinion. And yes, maybe we were all a little disappointed. Tony just came out and flat out just did like a quick, hey, AEW Championship is going to have a tournament. Trios is tonight. That's it. Talk to you later. And he got booed for it. But I mean, realistically, stripping away the fandom and everything, there is legal issues here. There's legality and like the Young Bucks, Kenny, even Phil are all within their rights to, legally do something against one another
Yeah, this is a
or one
pretty, I mean,
party.
it's pretty serious. Like you said, like you strip away the wrestling side of it, it's a pretty serious situation.
Yeah.
There was an event, and then a bunch of guys got into a fight over it. It
Yeah.
sounded like it got pretty violent, especially when they're saying, like, I think it was Nick Jackson had a black eye, and somebody
Yeah.
got, it might have been him that got knocked out or something. Like,
Someone either
it's
wasn't knocked out,
serious.
someone was
It's
trying to save a
serious.
dog. one
Yeah,
side, one side is like
and
you were attacked, the other side is like I was just being, there to help and save a dog.
yeah, yeah, I'll bet.
Mm.
I'm not even sure that Ace guy is even really married.
Oh shit.
Uh,
This is like full blown, obviously. Like we're not gonna get into like the details. Like you just know, as you haven't heard, they fought. Like they all got into a scruff.
I mean, if you're listening, if you've listened this far into the CM Punk story, I would assume you know what's
Right,
happening at this
exactly.
point. Do you think Tony made the right call? I mean, his options are kind of limited. Neither
Yeah,
group is going to be on the show.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
they have to get suspended.
So I
Do you
guess
think he made the right call vacating both sets of titles and just.
yes, yeah. I think this is where I'm gonna go on my little mini rant. So strap yourselves in. I'll try not to take too long. It's kind of late, but I think Tony did the right thing. It does suck because I feel like I'm in that ballpark that the Bucks had every right and Kenny to confront him, but as EVPs, you have to be above Punk, which he's trying to belittle you and put you underneath him, and you kind of stoop to his level by obliging him and trying to like get in his face. You should have waited. You should have called Tony. You should have called your boss and say, "Hey, we need to conduct a meeting with this guy and have a talk with him."
Yeah.
Use your power of authority. You aren't just wrestlers. You're EVPs. That has to mean something. Yeah, everyone made fun of them when they got that title. It's like, what is that? A nothing title? Everybody got that title. Cody got that title. You know. So I get it. I absolutely get why they would do that. You want to like resolve maybe something right away, or you're just pissed off mad. But even then, none of that is none of that is good enough to to put your reputation on the line. Because yes, although not everyone is like completely upset with them, people are going to be upset with them regardless. I mean, the Bucks fans, I'm sure there's going to be like Kenny fans, all elite fans are just going to be on their side and probably cry foul like they didn't deserve to get stripped. They do. They absolutely do. Because if you're fighting, even if you're defending yourself or you're the reason for a scuffle, you got to show you got to dish out the punishment like same. They're all out. No favors. Which is why I'm a little confused about why there hasn't been like too much of an announcement about it because, but I get it, it's legal issues. So then I have to remind myself legalities. And that's where I have to remind people and who are listening, which I feel like not everybody, at least from like the two channels that you and I like indulge in, which is called Cultaholic and Wrestle Talk. They've done a good job in trying to say like legal issues. We got to remember legal issues. That's why they can't say so much. Tony left it pretty bland, but because he has to. So I have to remind myself, yes, it has to be bland. He can't flat out say why or if even Punk is suspended or not because of legality issues. It could mean something, or because maybe they're in the process of talking about his contract and his exit out of the company. We don't know. We wanted more answers. We still have more questions and answers. Uh, I wouldn't say we have more questions. Maybe not. But overall, like I think they went with the right and safest route. That's the key word, safest route. I think they went the safest route possible by vacating all the titles and moving forward and trying to move forward, which I'll guess, you know, we'll talk about that together with what led to last night's show. And I'm sure this will go up tomorrow, so it'll be Friday, today's Thursday. But Tony did what he had to do, and I'm glad he showed up and he nutted up. He nutted up and then did what he had to do and stripped them equally. It would have been fucked up if they did another interim title. That would have enraged the entire wrestling community. I think even I don't know, maybe not the punk like the diehard punk fans, but like that would have been eye opening. But I think it shows you that I think that everyone was in the wrong, and I know you, Chris, have been railing into Punk, and so have I. Or Phil. I'm gonna try and call him Phil because that's who it was at the again. That's I'm adamant. Like CM Punk's a character. Phil Brooks is a person who has all this animosity, and he's the angry person. Yes, they're one and the same, but we can hate one or the other. We can hate the person Phil, but love the character CM Punk. I think Roman's a great person when he was a babyface. I'm sure he was, but I hated the character Roman Reigns when he was a babyface. Absolutely I hated him. Great guy, I bet. Great person. So, you can separate the two, in my opinion. But Phil Brooks has been just controversial, and he hasn't been there the most time. So it's crazy in the time span that he's been, it has been like 20% wrestling, 80% hurt. And from the 20% wrestling, you divide it. There's 10% good. The next 10% is bad. This is just random maths I'm creating in my head. Just random maths, good old Papa Pump. It's just like there is no easy way to say it that he hasn't created a good atmosphere as of late. He's bringing in bad press with his comments, and everyone wants to defend him. He's making points. Well, what points is he making exactly? Where is the proof? Show me the receipts. That's a classic line from our generation. Show me the receipts. It's literally just show me the proof, and we might be inclined to believe Mr. Brooks about whatever tangent you went on. But even then, it was as we got corrected, or I got corrected, was that it was completely uncalled for, the tangent. And I'm just and with the little I was defending him in, and obviously I wasn't even defending him that much, like he just shot himself in the foot, which is a funny phrase to say because the dude's foot was just got healed, and now his fucking was it bicep or pectoral?
He tore his tricep. He's going to be out for 8 months.
And
You're not going to
that's
see CM Punk either way for a very long time. You may not ever see him again. He may never be on the show again.
he may
If
be
he
done with
is, it's not
wrestling.
going to be till next year.
I just don't know. And that's where like the question remains is like, what do you do with Punk if he does stay with the company? And that's something I guess I'll ask you. Is like, what do you do with a still in the company as far as we know? And if let's throw it out there, like
Right.
hypothetical, what do we do with a Punk that's still on contract, who's still on the cover of a game? What do you do with that man?
There's a chance that he's already been let go
Mm-hmm.
and they can't announce it until his injury is healed because there's like some sort of legalities behind firing someone while they're hurt. We have to go forward under the assumption that he is still with the company as it stands
Mm-hmm.
right now and he's
Mm-hmm.
just injured.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way past this. I don't think AEW needs CM Punk. I think that Tony did a good job because, a lot of people were dunking on him for sitting there and basically getting cucked in real time by a guy who seemingly thinks he runs the company.
Mhm.
I still can't believe CM Punk said all of that shit in front of his boss. It's just like
Yeah.
insane to try to process.
Yeah.
Um, Tony made the right call. I think there was, you know, obviously, like I was saying that I think CM Punk should just be gone, and I still think that. I don't know if that, my opinion's gonna change because
Yeah.
I think Phil Brooks, his opinions don't seem to change very often. He's still a very, very bitter man.
Hmm.
Also, it's worth pointing out that whatever intel he got on the Bucks leaking to Dave Meltzer this stuff about the Colt Cabana stuff is not true. I don't know who told him that, but it's not true. Dave came out and said that's not what happened. And so essentially this entire thing
Hmm.
is based around CM Punk having misinformation.
Yeah.
And, I know Phil's a pretty stubborn guy, clearly. So whether or not he's going to own up to the fact that he ignited this whole thing based on false information, that's going to be up to him. I would imagine that's why the Young Bucks busted into that room one way or another, and we're pretty mad. That being said, when you're the EVPs, you can't act like that.
No, you
You just
can't.
can't. And they got the punishment that they should. I think what I liked about what Tony did was that he basically said, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you make the company. Because I saw a lot of comments about people saying you can't fire him because he makes the company a lot of money. At some point, you got to put your foot down
Hmm.
because you can't let another CM Punk come to AEW. You can't
Yeah.
let this happen
Can't
twice. You
can't have
can't,
another Phil Brooks.
yeah, you can't breed this atmosphere of like, come in, do whatever you want. If you make the company money, I'll look the other way on literally everything else that you say and do.
Hmm.
You just can't let that be the reputation,
Yeah.
especially not when you're trying to be competition. Like you have
Hmm.
to look
Hmm.
professional. And, Tony's on the internet. Like he doesn't have his head in the sand like Vince McMahon. He saw and read everything that people were saying. So he knew what
Oh
he
yeah.
had to do. And I think he made the right call. I don't see how CM Punk ever comes back because I was thinking about this earlier. It's like there's a lot of layers to when Tony went on TV yesterday and got booed.
Yeah.
And the first one is that MJF went out 3 months ago and basically turned Tony Khan into a heel authority figure.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan let that happen.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of if he said go out and say whatever you want, or if they talked about a script or, bullet points or whatever, however it came about, you can't watch that MJF promo and think like, this Tony Khan is such a great guy. Like he came out of that looking really bad. And so
Yeah.
then CM Punk, I, I mean, just fucking clowns on him by like shitting on the whole company right in front of this guy.
Hmm.
And he goes on TV, he's gonna look like a total doofus and a moron. So he gets booed. And on top of that, I don't see how you bring CM Punk back and expect him to get anything other than go away heat, which is like the kind of heat Baron Corbin gets when he goes out there, which is like, no, this is has nothing
Classic
to
Roman,
do.
you mean?
Yeah, like this has nothing to do with like you're not Eddie Guerrero, you're not like being just kind of a cool dickhead. We just don't want you
Hmm.
in the ring. Like we don't want to see you. And I just don't see how there's any way where you can make the Young Bucks look like heels and CM Punk look like anything more than a guy that people, I think, a majority, this is just based on taking the temperature of the internet and, the feedback we've seen on the episode. It seems like a lot of people are okay with him just kind of going away.
Yeah,
And
it seems that way.
I mean, on top of that, like, let's just say that CM Punk was a great guy and a total team player. How could you ever put a legitimate championship on a guy who's gotten injured twice.
Yeah.
Like his two title reigns have lasted, I think, a total of 6 days.
Yeah.
Like this is what cost Samoa Joe his spot in WWE,
Yeah.
is that
Injury
he
prone.
just got hurt too much.
I mean, Max
Like,
Caster made a whole rap about it.
yeah, like, I know people got mad at Vince because once somebody would get injured, he would just kind of like, oh, they're too fragile. Like I can't like bother building them up. But like CM Punk's not getting younger and he's clearly very injury prone.
And also still very much immature.
Right. It just seems like, and I think that's part of like why it just feels like, what's the point? Like, what's the
Yeah.
point of bringing this guy back at all? Like, what from his perspective, what's the point? You want to go back to
Yeah.
a place now where everyone hates you? Or like you're only friends with the revival and your trainer from like 20 years ago, like who's gonna get fired anyway. So like that's the place you want to go back to? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't see a scenario like
Yeah.
the guys who built the company. You can't put CM Punk back out there.
Yeah.
It just because
I
like
don't know.
Tony looks so bad in all of this.
Yeah, he does. He
I
let this
just don't see how
happen.
CM Punk
There
comes.
should have been so this is like I guess is a great transition. This is one of the things like what Tony needs to do better. Tony
Yeah.
needs to he keeps calling these meetings. You need to keep calling these meetings, but with individual talent or groups of talents when they have these issues. So you can air it out because we talked about it pretty sure in the last podcast. How like Brian and Miz didn't get actually don't like each other, but they got along and did the job. You need to get these guys in your office, sit them down, or if it's not you, which is another thing that happened recently, is that Tony Schiavone is now his right hand man. Great pick. Everyone loves Tony. I've never heard a bad thing about Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
Um, maybe add a fucking left hand man too. Somebody, a woman. I don't
William
care.
Regal.
Oh my God,
That
perfect.
was Triple H's like left hand, right hand,
Hire
whatever fucking hand
Regal.
you want to talk. Like,
Dude, yeah,
I
whoever.
don't.
Hire a team. Get a team together. Get these
Yes,
people.
dude. Tony needs a team,
He needs a
man.
team so he can get these fucking people, these
Yeah.
dudes, and lower their testosterone levels. Because I get it. When emotions fly high, things are said, and that's one of the defense mechanism or arguments that's being thrown out there for Punk. He's like, he was like high on his championship win, but he was high on something else. Like I'm not talking
Yeah.
about drugs, but like he was high on like just pure anger and wanting to say something because that's when now everyone's pointing it out. Like you said with Dave, Dave Meltzer in his report today, he was like he was ready to say that. He was planning on going
He
out there,
like practiced
burning
that shit in
everybody.
the mirror the morning of. Like,
Maybe to his dog Larry or something. I don't know, but Tony needs to do this thing, this whole thing. He needs to learn from this whole thing and do things
yeah.
better. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Is like, what can he do better? Those two things. Keep create
On
a
that
team.
note though, sorry to cut in, but
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
just thinking now, like, where are Big Show and Mark Henry?
Oh,
Like, where
yeah,
are these vet?
yeah, yeah,
He hired guys. He
yeah.
brought guys in who like, I mean, not to like put blame on people who were like literally not involved,
Right, right, right.
but the wrestling locker room is like in most promotions is renowned for being like a place where there is some sort of hierarchy.
Sure.
Whether it's like, 20 years ago where the Undertaker would like hold court in the locker room, or
Yeah,
Roman Reigns like, throwing Enzo off the bus because he was acting like a dickhead.
yeah,
Like there's always those guys who are in charge, who are like,
yeah,
they're below the actual like CEOs and
yeah,
COOs and all that, but they're the guys who are like, hey, this stops in the locker room. This does not go.
yeah.
It doesn't get uglier. This
Mm-hmm.
doesn't turn into a news story. We're not going to embarrass the company.
Mm-hmm.
And like AEW is not publicly traded or anything, but it's like we're not going to
Yeah,
do anything that affects the stock price here. Where one of
yeah.
the big man upstairs gets angry, and it's weird. Like you said, maybe this is like he's got to have more meetings and just like really foster more of a, I don't know, like a locker room hierarchy, and not this
Yeah,
like,
they keep
it's cool that
doing that
everybody's good
meeting.
friends,
Yeah,
but there's got to be some like Jericho, Danielson, Mark Henry, Big Show. Like There's
Yeah.
got to be some guys in there who are like, hey, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, which is one of the things that came out afterwards was like I think that day of Dynamite, it was Brian and Danielson and Jericho addressed the locker room, and then also Jericho got, I guess, involved afterwards or during or a mix of both after the scuffle and like trying to get cool things prevail. Everyone's been praising Jericho. He's the one like he's been taking kind of charge and like now being the locker room guy at the moment. And maybe it should be him. You know, that's a great, like, you made a great point, and that's exactly what's been going on, it seems. And maybe it's a shift towards that. Maybe he should be in like want to be one of the executives. He is one of the guys who helped start this idea and let it flourish. So I don't see why you don't give him more power. I know he's, you know, he basically is a business guy. You know, he's a rock star. He does other shit. He's a good podcaster. Like he's a
Yeah, I saw
guy.
someone bring that up actually, that Jericho should retire from like full time
Mhm.
in ring work and that he should get promoted to some sort of executive role with AEW.
Yeah, like either
Which is, I as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's actually a really good idea.
yeah, like
Yeah.
something, like do something, like something
Yeah.
that guides like puts these guys in the right frame of mind. Look what he's done to the people he's worked with. Look which one of these guys that he's worked with besides like, and we're not gonna count like LAX because LAX is going through their own thing or former
Yeah.
Proud and Powerful. But like those guys he's worked with are all doing great now, especially
Yeah.
Daniel Garcia right now. And then look at all the programs he's done. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, they've all done well. They're all doing great. So he knows talent, and him and Regal are like kind of like that. Like they have an eye for talent.
Hmm.
Obviously, we know Regal because he would
Well,
literally do the scouting.
yeah. Yeah.
So you know he did the scouting for NXT, and so like one of those two guys, if you could build a dream team, you have the dream team to build. You have Regal, you got Mark Henry, who was definitely a locker
Yeah.
room guy back in the day.
You know
Uh,
what's kind of a bummer though, as we're rattling off all these veteran names,
Mhm.
I'm like, CM Punk should be one of these guys. Like I think everybody's gonna have their opinions on this whole situation, and personally, I'm coming at it from the perspective of everybody's at fault.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody had an opportunity to not to de-escalate this situation, and everyone failed.
Yep.
So that's why this has gotten as bad as it is. And now the top championship in AEW doesn't belong to anybody at the moment, which
No,
is
that's not true. It belongs
embarrassing.
to vacant. It belongs
It's
to
a
vacant.
vacant reign supreme. It's a title that's been really poorly booked over the last few months. And if they really did not need a scenario where it felt any less important,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they landed in, because a bunch of adult men could not act like adults.
Yep, that's what it
Um,
boils down to, and I think that's what everyone's like kind of they're just trying to pick sides, but they're literally seeing the over. They're over like they can't see it directly,
yeah.
and they're
It's
not in the
just
middle.
like
They're not putting
in
themselves in
the
the middle.
in the end, I don't know about you, but I just feel disappointed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
I'm very
I mean,
disappointed.
I loved CM Punk. Like I was so excited when he came back to AEW. I didn't know, I wasn't really in on the Young Bucks for a long time, but then like you exposed me to them more and showed me their
Hmm.
matches. I was like, these guys are awesome. And the same with Kenny Omega. And it's like we talked about this on the episode we did a couple days ago. It
Yeah,
was like, I don't, I get it. It's the real world. Not everybody's gonna like each other. Not everybody's gonna be going out for beers after the show. But this is like the worst case scenario. I don't want these guys to hate each other. I want
yeah,
these guys to be getting into actual fights behind the
yeah.
scenes and
They don't have to
like
be
getting
friends, just get along. You know, get the job
right
done.
and
Just get the
like
job done. Like the Miz and Brian, they literally don't like each other, and they got the job done. Even
it.
fucking Michaels and fucking Bret Hart,
That's what I
literally
was gonna
not only
say,
they don't
dude.
like they hated each other,
There's
nuclear heat.
no way we're gonna live in a world where Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart bury the hatchet, and CM Punk and the Young Bucks, the guys that wanted each like they wanted him in the company. There's no
Day
way that's
one,
the one that
they
doesn't
wanted
get
him at the
we can't
first
get
All
over.
In, the first All In. They wanted him.
Uh
So I don't know, but I guess
Disappointing.
it's disappointing. But to move on to better, bigger, and brighter things, um, quickly, let's talk based on the show. What'd you think? I know you didn't watch all of it from start to finish. I got to get most
Oh,
of it
I
watched.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it
No,
was like a 4 out of 5 show.
the main thing I took away from it, which I think was the right call, because I still think at the end of the day, Tony definitely has a good mind for booking. I just think he's a little in over his head with like the scope of how to book everything.
Yeah.
But I
Oh, that's
thought
another thing. I think he does need to get a creative team together too.
yeah, but
That's the other
I
thing.
thought like the feeling I came away from the show with was like that was a great show of awesome wrestling,
Hmm.
which when AEW launched, that
That's what it
was
was.
that
That's all
was
it
their
was.
brand,
Yeah, that
was
was all it
like
was.
you watch our show because we're gonna let guys go out there for 30 minutes and show you why they're some of the best athletes in the world. And
Unless you're
like
a woman.
well, those are still being treated as the bathroom segments, unfortunately.
Let's
But
face it. Yeah.
there was some great wrestling on the show, and it just reminded me of like I got those feelings of like, yes,
Yeah.
this is why people watch AEW.
Yeah.
Like
That main event was great. Loved it.
this is what you
So
fucking
good.
get from AEW because
Yeah,
they
that's
have
what you're supposed
such
to get.
talented people. But actually, Ollie Davis brought this up, and I thought it was really interesting. I kind of got this vibe
Mm.
was that by not mentioning the people involved,
Hmm.
and you can have your opinions on if you really think this is true from a business perspective, but I certainly do. I think this was a warning shot to Omega, the Bucks, CM Punk, and pretty much everybody in the company. You are replaceable. We do not need you. If you want to go out and embarrass the company, we can take you out of the intro. We can take you off the
Mm.
show. We're not going to
Mm.
mention your
Hmm.
name
Hmm.
anymore. We're not
Hmm.
going to sell your
That's right.
merchandise, and we can book the show just fine without you. Keith Lee wasn't even on this show. And like there's so many Christian is injured, Jungle, but like there's so many people that weren't even like utilized.
Yeah.
And it was still a great show, which is just like proof that AEW has a stacked roster with or without
Hmm.
CM Punk and the Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Their tag team
And
division is stacked.
I mean, like, I think some of this was a warning shot to
Yeah.
anyone else who might have a problem with someone backstage. You want to bring this up, you bring it up in the locker room.
Yeah.
You bring it up to me directly. You do not go out there and embarrass the entire company because I'll
Yes.
scrub you from
Yes.
AEW completely.
Yes. I think this has been the learning experience for Tony and the team or whatever team he's creating or whatever team exists within, the backstage
Yeah.
crew. Um, it just shows you even from all this, like, and that's another thing now I'm like hyping myself back up, especially for the next thing I'm going to talk about is like they can do this. They clearly can do this. Even after all this bullshit, they went out there and put on a better wrestling show than what Raw was doing just a month ago. They still
Yeah.
put on a great show to whatever WWE was putting out a month ago.
Backs against the wall because like they don't have a
Yeah,
top champion on the
yeah,
show.
yeah. And we're either gonna get a repeat champion or a whole new champion. And guess what? We're gonna see that live, motherfuckers.
Ooh,
Woo!
a twist. We are AEW confirmed,
We
baby.
are all elite. I'm sure there's so many wrestling podcasts here in the city and out there in the internet. It's like, yeah, we're going to the show. But no, this is exciting because me and Chris have been dying to go to a fucking AEW show for a long time. They were primarily in the East Coast and we're like, when are you coming to New York? And then COVID hit, and then
Yeah.
they did do Grand Slam last year, and that's when Danielson had just finally got like left and came in, and we were like, oh my god. But COVID was still like iffy, and we didn't want to go. And I didn't go to my first wrestling show until November, and then went again, and then that's probably how I got COVID in December. But yeah,
But this was
it's okay.
this was not planned. We were just
Yeah.
watching the show last night, and then all of a sudden we saw that like the new like title tournament. We were like, oh, so they're gonna crown a new champion in New York.
Yep.
And then the thing that sealed the deal
For sure. For sure.
was when we found out
Uh,
that at Arthur Ashe Stadium, the acclaimed will become the new
Ooh. Hot take
AEW
confirmed.
Tag Team Champions.
You want to bet money on that?
I was almost going to argue that they should be put in the trios tournament
They should.
because
Yeah.
you
Would
have Billy
Daddy
Gunn
ask?
in
Oh
there, man.
yeah. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, so we saw that match is announced. That card's going to be crazy. Really quickly, who do you think is going to become the new AEW champion?
Ah, damn it. Dude, they've been like everyone these like fantasy bookings, like from just fans, they're really selling me on Darby. Like you could put it on Darby, have him, and then just have him lose it immediately. Like it's and that's okay.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
it's a little disrespect, and you can't say like it's disrespectful, but like at least it's an original who gets it, and then but then like if it's MJF that wins it, like then you just got a fucking money feud for the next fucking five
Mm,
until he leaves because he might leave
hmm.
or may not leave. Who knows? There's suspicions that MJF resigned. Also, comment MJF is over as fuck, and he was on point, on
He's
point,
so
and
good,
John
dude.
Moxley
He's
was
so good.
incredible. They're
I can't wait to
ah,
see him flip us off in person. I'm so
he has to be there. It's New York City.
excited.
Come on. But yes, I thought the show last night was great. We are all elite, and
Yeah. So you're
ah,
going Darby.
I'm gonna go Darby. Yeah, I say
That's a
fuck it. Why not?
spicy
Well,
that's a
actually,
spicy
you know what?
take.
I could actually just look up to see if he was in the tournament. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. We'll talk about it off screen.
I
I might have to change. Okay, I'm between Darby or I'm gonna go Danielson.
if it's not Danielson, I'm gonna be stunned.
Really, really.
I think that's gotta be. Yeah, because Moxley deserves it, obviously, but I
Yeah.
feel like
He kind of ruined it because he's like, I'm supposed to be on vacation right now, but he clearly,
yeah,
you
and he
know,
deserves like a real title run, not one that's caught up in all this bullshit with like CM
yeah.
Punk and vacating titles and
Not a
all that.
pity, like here you go. And thanks
Yeah,
for
and
being like a player.
I think that if you want to
That's a good point.
really bump up intrigue in AEW, think of all the like just the intriguing matchups you could do with Daniel Bryan. Like, give me a
Hmm.
Daniel Bryan Keith Lee. Oh my gosh.
Swerve.
Like, like the sorry,
Mm.
Daniel Bryan. It's a better name. I don't know what to tell you. It's a
Uh,
better name.
it's his real name.
It's a more chantable name, damn
Be
it. It
dry.
sucks that WWE owns it.
I know it's so
He should
stupid.
have taken it with him. Yeah, I think it's gonna be him because that would, I think, be pretty intriguing. And I think that Daniel Bryan as a babyface is as popular or more popular than CM Punk ever was as his tweener
That's
role.
true. I can
Because
see
if you
it.
want to go back to those old WWE days when both of those guys were doing their thing, Daniel Bryan was something
Over.
else.
Yeah, he was over as fuck.
Yeah, he was something else.
And
I
I
mean, they
wasn't even
fucking
watching back then, and I knew
they
about the yes chant.
yeah, like they shit on the Royal Rumble when he got eliminated, and
Yeah,
that
of
show had
course.
like half an hour to go, and the crowd just shit on it. Like
Yeah.
if I think now's the time. I think Jericho. It's been done too many times. I think Moxley deserves a fucking vacation.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think the other guys, their first title win shouldn't be under these weird circumstances. But
Completely agree. But
yeah,
so we're going to see Grand Slam. We're very excited. And this is pretty much it. We'll catch you in the next one, beautiful people. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.